Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will talk about clinical or topographical anatomy of the head. Before continuation of our lecture, I want to recall you about very important details, which are: number one, don't forget that in the beginning of the lecture, each student must obligatory, I repeat once more, obligatory make a screenshot on the wall of this presentation, on which he or she must write his name and group number. Better if it will be written in Russian. Then this screenshot the student must entitle by his or her name and send it to the chief of the group. Chief of the group will make a folder with the number of his or her group and put in this folder all screenshots of all the students, members of that group, and will send it to the chief of the division. Chief of the division will send it to me. By means of this, there will be no problem with the presence of the lecture. In the opposite case, all these lectures must be cleared. Second, if during the lecture you will have some questions, don't forget it's possible to put these questions on the wall. At the end of the lecture, I obligatory check all this. So, in general, this is all. Let's begin. Topographical anatomy of the head, or clinical anatomy of the head. Head is bounded from the neck by the line which passes on the inferior margin of the lower jaw, apex of the mastate process, superior nuchal line, and inferior occipital tuber. In clinical anatomy, possible to divide the head into two main parts, which are facial, skull or facial part of the head, and neurocranium or neural part of the head. The border between these two parts are passed throughout glabella nasum, arcus supercilii, zygomatic process of the frontal bone, frontal process of zygomatic bone, then temporal process of the zygomatic bone, zygomatic process of the temporal bone, superior margin of the extern acoustic meatus, and inferior throughout mastate process. Everything which rests anterior inferiorly to this line, this part called as facial part of the head, or simply facial head. Everything which rests posterior superiorly called as a neurocranium or neural part of the head. in the cerebral part of the head, the neural part of the head, we can distinguish calaveria. We can distinguish calaveria and base. Calaveria and base. Calaveria include frontoparieto-occipital region. Frontoparieto-occipital region is unpaired. Then temporal region, regio temporalis, it's a paired region. And mastid region. Mastid region, according to location, mainly belong to the base of the skull, base of the head. But according to its structure, it doesn't have difference. It doesn't have difference with regions of the calaveria. That's why in the books usually it's described together with the regions of calaveria of the head, or calaveria of the skull. In the facial part of the head, or viscerocranium, visceral part of the head, which contains over organs, we can distinguish in it orbital region, regio orbitalis, is this one. Then nasal region, regio nasalis, oral region, regio oralis, together with which also usually studied regio submentalis, submental region. Lateral region of the face include buccal region, paraphylemoceteric region, and more deeply rests regio facialis lateralis profundus. Fronto-occipital parietal region. Borders of this region are anteriorly it's a glabellinae and arcus supercilii. Then to the lateral side is a superior temporal line, and from the back, from posterior, it's a superior nuchal line. It's a superior nuchal line. Structure layer by layer. Skin. Contents of hair follicles. Big amount of the sweat and sebaceous glands. Subsequent fat normally presented and divided into the small areas by vertical septums, which contains all connective tissue fibers which travel from the skin to the inferior located layer to gallia aponeurotica. That's why hematomes and purulent processes are usually have located structure. Gallia aponeurotica is a connective tissue layer which lies between the frontal and occipital venters of the frontal occipital muscle. To the lateral sides, gallia aponeurotica decrease in thickness and continues on the superficial fascia of the temporal region. Here, connection between the skin and gallia aponeurotica are very deep, but connection with the muscles, bones are very poor. Periosteum not connected with the bones of the skull. As exception, it connects in the sutures of the bones where they connect with one another. Subperiosteal fat have good development and very easy separate from the bone. Here also possible to see subperiosteal abscesses which is bounded by region of one bone. Because periosteum have good connection with the sutures of the skull and doesn't give ability to the purulent masses pass out of the space. Bones of the calvaria are flat. They include three layers: lamina externa, diploid, and lamina vitrea. Lamina externa, diploid, and lamina vitrea. Lamina externa is presented. Lamina externa is presented. Lamina externa is presented by the compact bone. Thickness of this compact bone sometimes rise up to 10 to 15 millimeters. 10 to 15 millimeters. 10 to 15 millimeters. More deeply to it, Zadnipryany. It receives the name because here rest vessels, diploatic veins. Diploatic veins. It's not so strong as a lamina externa. It's not so strong as lamina externa, but diploae are rigid. It's like a spring. Deeply to diploae present internal layer, which called as lamina interna, or sometimes it called as lamina vitrea, which in English means glassmate. Glassmate. Why? Because thickness of it is very, very small. Thickness of it is very, very small. It's something around 1 or even less millimeter. And of course, after trauma, after the impact, external layer in diploae usually not damaged, but internal layer damaged and have a very good chance to destroy deeply located soft tissues. And deeply located soft tissues are dura mater encephaly together with the veins, together with the sinuses. Sinuses of dura mater encephaly. Sinuses of dura mater encephaly. Throughout which brain drains the blood from itself. It's additional source of draining. And after the damage of the lamina interna, it's like a blade, it's very, very sharp, like a blade can cut these sinuses, paranasal sinuses. Paranasal sinuses, instead of veins, contains not 3 layers wall, but 2 layers wall. As you remember, in the veins, among the layers are 3. Internal layer, intima, which is formed by the endothelial cells. Then second, it's a muscular layer, and external is formed by the connective tissue fibers. Connective tissue fibers. Connective tissue fibers. Connective tissue fibers. But in the sinuses of dura mater, there are no muscular layer. Mainly is absent. That's why after cutting of sinus of dura mater encephaly, it's impossible to constrict, and by means of this to decrease diameter and decrease bleeding. Hemorrhage continues and cannot stop by itself. It needs obligatory medical treatment. Medical treatment. Temporal region. Temporal region. Temporal region is bounded by measures of the temporal muscle. Skin is movable, especially in anterior regions of the temporal region. A more smaller mobility is in the posterior regions. Subskin fat is continuation of the galea panaerotica, which pass inferior as the decreased in thickness facial layer. Propofascia, temporal fascia, is a panaerotic layer which starts from the superior temporal line and the inferior 1/3 region is divided into two layers, one superficial, one deep, to form a space between them. Between these two layers of the fascia proper rests a adipose tissue layer, interaponeurotic fat, in which rests middle temporal artery, arteria temporalis media. Subaponeurotic fat is more highly presented in the subtemporal fossa, inferior to the zygomatic arc and zygomatic bone. It transforms into the adipose body of the chick, corpus adiposum, or more often called as corpus adiposum bichá. Temporal muscle starts from the inferior temporal line, posterior to the zygomatic arc, and continues as a big tendon that attaches to the coronate process and anterior margin of the inferior jaw, mandibula. Muscle bone adipose space is presented by the adipose tissue. Bones of the temporal region doesn't contain obliploid, and in general thickness of it is very, very small, 2-3 mm. That's why more often here possible to see hematomes after the tromba of temporal region. To the internal surface of the bone, from the internal side, from intracranial space. To this bone attach middle meningeal artery. That's why fracture of the temporal bone can be supported by the rupture of this vessel with the future bleeding and formations of the hematome. In this region, also, you must pay special attention on the scheme of Cranlein-Brussels. These schematic lines give ability to understand place of projection of gyruses and sulcuses of the brain on the external surface. That's why here we put two lines. One inferior horizontal line which passes throughout inferior margin of the orbit and superior margin of the external acoustic meatus. More superiorly, parallel to this horizontal line, present superior horizontal line. It passes parallel to the inferior and is on the level of the superior margin of the orbit. And also three vertical lines, 1, 2, 3. First line pass throughout middle of the zygomatic arc. Second, throughout temporomandibular joint. And number 3, throughout inferior margin of the base of mastate process. Projection of the central or Rolander sulcus is equal to line which pass in crossing over posterior vertical middle sagittal line to the place of crossing with the anterior vertical superior horizontal line. Then, here also possible to see projection of the lateral or ciliary sulcus. Sulcus lateralis and sulcus ciliae. It passes between the anterior and posterior vertical lines. Trunk of meningeal media artery is projected on the point of crossing of anterior vertical with the inferior horizontal. Frontal branch of middle meningeal artery is projected on the point of crossing of anterior vertical with a superior horizontal line. Parietal branch is projected on the place of crossing of the horizontal line with a posterior vertical line. Mastoid region. Mastoid region, borders of it is equal to the borders of the mastoid process. Skin is thick. Subskin fat poorly developed. Bone contains over hair cells. And very often it can be inflamed. It can be inflamed. Why? Let's make a travel in the material of the first course. What is the main features and the structure of the skull of newborn and the general head of the newborn? Pharynx is very short but wide. Consequently to the ancient side of the head, it's wide. As you remember, middle ear contains of two main parts, which are auditory canal or Eustachian canal or Eustachian tube, and tuberous cavity. Auditory tube, auditory canal, short but wide. That's different purulent processes, inflammatory processes, which will be in pharynx, very easy can pass into the auditory tube and then to the middle ear. As you remember, middle ear, I mean tympanic cavity, contains of 6 walls. Posterior wall of pars mastoideus is the entrance into the mastoid cavity or mastoid cells. In mastoid process, we can distinguish trigonum of Shippo. This one trigonum of Shippo. Borders of it anteriorly spina suprameatum, superiorly line of continuation of the superior margin of the zygomatic arc, and posteriorly it's crest of the mastered process. The trigonal shippo connect with middle cranial fossa superiorly, with the sigmoid sinus posteriorly, and canal of the facial nerve anteriorly. Here, present, on the bone present, superficial fascia and posterior auricular muscle. Proper fascia of this muscle is attached to the periosteum of mastoid process. Sternocleidomastoid, scalene, posterior belly of the digastric muscle, and longus capitis muscle. Periosteum have deep connection with the bone, with the exception of a small area which is triangular in shape. We called it, as you understood, trigonal shippo. Repeat once more. Superior body is a horizontal line which is continuation of the zygomatic arc. Anterior is line which passes posterior to the externoacoustic meatus, to the apex of the mastoid process, and posteriorly is a crest of the mastoid process in the region of the shippo triangle. Very often inside of the cells of the mastoid process we can distinguish inflammation, and this inflammation this inflammatory process is a result of flu, chickenpox, and some other diseases. Inflammation of the cells of the mastoid process called as mastoiditis, and the treatment of this disease is a trepanation of the mastoid process. Vessels, arteries, which supply soft tissues of the base of the skull. All of these vessels are separated in three main groups: anterior group, lateral group, and posterior group. Anterior group, mainly presented by the supraorbital and supratrochlear arteries. They are from the carotid internal artery. Lateral group is presented by the temporalis superficialis and auricularis posterior from the carotis externa artery. And posterior group is presented by the occipital from the carotid external artery. All presented arteries, all listed arteries, participate in blood supply of the soft tissues of the skull and have very good anastomosis between themselves from both sides. And because of this, after the wounds of the soft tissues, ligation of the artery is impossible in stop bleeding, in the bleeding arrest, because of very big amount of anastomosis. 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 Veins. Venous system of the skull is presented as a system in three layers. In three layers. First layer, first stall, first part is presented by the subskin veins of the head. They travel together with the same name arteries, and the venous drainage from them is passed into the internal jugular vein, or firstly into the facial and retromandibular vein, and then or in external jugular vein, or just immediately the internal jugular vein. For years and for future, try to remember that the dominant drain vein for the head is the internal jugular vein. Second, diplomatic veins, which rest in the diploia of the flat bones of the skull, and up to the final development and synostosis of the sutures diplomatic vein are presented very poorly and are bounded by the margins over one bone. Margins of one bone. Third layer. Third layer. Third layer. Third layer is presented by the intracranial venous sinuses of the dura mater encephalon. All three stores communicate between themselves by emissary veins. The biggest emissary veins rest in the occipital temporal, and mastoid regions. They pass into the small foramens of the bones, and after development of the purulent processes, it can pass and convert into the septic thrombosis and retrograde passing of the infected blood to the sinuses of dura mater, with their thrombosis, formation of osteomyelitis, meningitis, and meningoencephalitis, especially of the cerebral part of the head in the newborn and kids. Some special features in the structure of the face. It open part of the body. All the nerves, arteries and veins are present on the face more superficially. Next, main part of the vessels have very good anastomosis, have very good communications. Here where we come out of the adipose spaces. Adipose spaces. Shape of the face or index by Garson up to 78.9. It's a very wide face. Term hyper every prosopic. Hyper every prosopic. Second, white. Every prosopic 79.0 up to 83.9. Next, middle face. Middle face, mesoprosopic, 84.0 up to 87.9. Next, narrow face, leptoprosopic, leptoprosopic face is 88.0 up to 92.9, and very narrow face is 83.0 and more. Is hyperleptoprosopic. How to count this index of the face? It's a result of dividing all the altitude of the face on the size of zygomatic diameter. How to measure altitude of face? It's a right distance from the point of nasal, place of connection of both nasal bones with the frontal bone, up to gnatian, inferior margin of the submental protuberance. And zygomatic diameter, it's a distance between the zygium it's the most projected points on the lateral surface of the zygomatic earth from left up to right side. Asymmetric position of the face. Asymmetric position of the face can be hemi-hypertrophic and hemi-atrophic from one or two sides. Regions of the head. Facial part of the head can be divided into two parts: anterior and lateral. As you remember, anterior part include orbit, nose, mouth, it usually studied in the department of otorhinolaryngology, but lateral region of the face is presented by three regions: buccal, trigonometric region in the deep region of the face. Parahemocytic region and deep region of the face. Regia facialis, lateralis profunda. Buccal region. Buccal region is bounded superiorly by the inferior margin of the orbit. Inferiorly, it's the inferior margin of the bone of the mandibular. Anteriorly, it's the nasolabial and nasobuccal folds. And posteriorly, it's anterior margin of the masseter muscle. Masseter muscle. Skin is movable and contains a very big amount of the sweat and sebaceous glands. It also contains all hair follicles. Not big amount, but content. Subskin fat is presented by two layers, superficial and deep. Superficial layer is presented by the adipose tissue, and the deep contains over muscles of facial expression, which are covered by the fascia, and also it covers the facial artery, vein, and branches of the facial nerve. Few words about the muscles of facial expression. We input the muscles of facial expression in the group over skeletal muscle, straight skeletal muscle. But please try to remember that there are some differences in the structure of the muscles of facial expression. First, usually skeletal muscles connect by one end to one bone, by another end to another bone. And after constriction, it will be moving all the bones, moving all the bones, moving all the bones. Facial muscle facial expression not connect by both ends to the bone, because main function of these muscles is not to move the bones. They form the grooves, small pits, folds on the skin. It's the first. And second, they doesn't contain of antagonists, because the turgor of the skin is very, very bigger. Its flexibility is very, very bigger. And in this case, it works like spring, like a spring. Fourth. Muscle facial expression doesn't contain of own fascias. That's why transformation of inflammatory processes will be very, very, very fast. Very, very fast. Muscles of facial expression usually innervated by branches of the facial nerve. Own fascia. It's from the capsula of the adipose body and attached to the inferior jaw or mandibular, and this adipose body, corpus adiposum or corpus adiposum bichar, contains of three processes. First, temporal. It communicates with the subaponeurotic space of the temporal region. Second, orbital. It communicates with the cavity of the orbit. And pterygopalatine. It communicates with the pterygopalatine fossa. Pterygopalatine fossa. Formal processes in the adipose, corpus adiposum, firstly have local location. It's local. But after the purulent deleting of facial capsule, it continues in the neighbor regions. Back to the adipose, corpus adiposum bichar rest buccal artery and vein. Pharyngobuccal fascia cover the buccal muscle and attach to the inferior jaw. Buccal muscle is the most deep located muscle facial expression. Through it pass duct of parotid gland. Parotid gland. Parotid gland. Next, parotidum esoteric region. Parotidum esoteric region. Superiorly, it's an inferior margin of the zygomatic arc. Inferiorly, it's inferior margin of the mandibular. Anteriorly, it's an anterior margin of the masseter muscle, and posteriorly, it's a posterior arc of the mandibular. Skin is movable. In male, usually colored. It contains over not only sweat and sebaceous glands, but also hair follicles, some skin fat, have good mobility, contains over very big amount of the connective tissue fibers that connect skin with the proper fascia. Proper fascia is strong layer of connective tissue fibers that surround parotid gland and masseter muscle. Parotid gland rests in retromandibular fossa, which form a bed to eat, and proper fascia form to the parotid gland, not only capsular, but also give rise some septums, which divided, you see here, on many small pieces to form small lobules. Facial capsule is very poorly developed and it open by the duct in vestibule of oral cavity on the level of second molar of upper jaw. 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 Because facial capsule is very poorly developed on the superior surface of the gland, part which attached to the external acoustic meatus, and from the medial side in the region of the pharyngeal process. Here, back of the parotid gland communicate with the paraglottic space. That's why pus can travel opulent masses from the parotid gland into the paraglottic space and also in the external acoustic meatus, and especially in the parotitis. And upside down inflammatory process can conduct from the cavity of external ear into the parotid gland. In the deep layers of the parotid gland rest external carotid artery and its terminal branches. Also retromandibular vein, facial nerve, deep and superficial parotid lymphatic nodes, facial nerve, here in the deep regions facial nerve, in the parotid gland divided into 5 groups, in the 5 branches, which are temporal, zygomatic, buccal, ramus mandibular, and cervical. As you remember, the duct of parotid gland rests in horizontal position, parallel and inferior to the zygomatic arc. It rests on the external surface of the masseter muscle, near the anterior margin of the mastate muscle, musculus masseter. The duct curves under the angle, after the angle of 90 degrees, inside, perforate masseter muscle and open on the mucous layer over vestibule of oral cavity between the first and second, or sometimes on the level of the second, malar of upper jaw of maxilla. Deep region of the face. Deep region of the face, possible to see only after removing of the branch of the mandibula plus masseter muscle and zygomatic arc. It forms the space which boundary from the lateral side, ascending branch of the mandibula. Anteriorly, tuber of maxilla. Third, medially, pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone, and superiorly, base of the skull, where it's filled by the muscles, adipose space, vessels and nerves. Here rests lateral and medial pterygoid and temporal muscles. In the deep layers, in the deep region, we can distinguish two interfacial adipose spaces. First one, tempora pterygate, between the lateral pterygate and temporal muscle. It includes maxillary artery together with its branches and numerous veins which form the pterygate venous plexus. Temporal pterygate space communicate with adipose corpus adiposum Bichat and with the pterygopalatine fossa. Second, region of the skull throughout foramen ovale. Foramen rotundum, together communicate with the cavity of the orbit throughout inferior orbital fissure with the nasal cavity throughout pterygopalatine foramen and region of the mouth throughout palatine canal. Second is interpterygate between the lateral and medial pterygate muscles and contains over pterygate venous plexus, maxillary artery and maxillary nerve. Interpterygate space communicate with temporal pterygate paranasal spaces, cavity of the skull throughout oval and spinous foramen, and flow of oral cavity according to passing of the lingual nerve. Manages of the brain, cause of the brain, or simply manages of the brain. Dura mater encephaly is connected with the bones of calvaria and very good connection with the base of the skull. It very easy divide into two layers. Superficial layer were often used for the transplantation of the defect over dura mater encephaly. Epidural space is rest between the dura mater and bones of the skull, and usually filled by blood after hemorrhage. Subdural space rest between the dura mater and arachnoidea. In this space rest epi and subdural hematomes after the damage of fracture of the bones of the skull and vessels of the dura mater encephaly. Arachnoidea encephaly. It passes in the skull and cover sursi and gyruses of the brain and divided from the dura mater encephaly by subdural space, and from the pia by subarachnoid space. Subdural space of the brain communicate with the analogous space of the spinal cord, and also perineural spaces of the cranial nerves. Pia mater encephaly. It attached to the brain and pass in all groups. Also pass in cavities of third and fourth ventricles and form plexuses. Subarachnoid space communicate with the same name space of the spinal cord and filled the same as the ventricles of the brain by the cerebrospinal fluid. Sinuses of dura mater. When we talk about the sinuses of dura mater, we must not forget that here rests some septums. Three processes form some septus. First of all, it's a falx cerebri, it's here, falx cerebri, which divide and separate medial spaces where rest hemispheres of the brain. Superior marginal falx cerebri projected on the sagittal line, which pass from the glabella up to protuberances capitalis externum. Inferior marginal falx cerebri pass to the callous body, corpus callosum, and its superior part connect with the tentorium cerebelli. Falx cerebelli. Divide hemisphere of cerebellum. And tentorium cerebelli it divides brain or cerebrum from cerebellum, posteriorly attached to the transverse groove. In the place where dura mater encephaly attached to the bones, from the venous sinuses, you can see here, sinuses of dura mater encephaly. It presented by the superior sagittal sinus, which rests on the superior margin of the falx cerebri and attached to the same name groove of the galvaria and continues from the crista galli up to protuberans capitalis interna on very long distance. Inferior sagittal sinus rests in the inferior margin of falx cerebri and continues into the rectus sinus, so striated sinus. What's here? Then, from the posterior margin of the great occipital foramen past confluence sinum, it continues from the base of the falx cerebelli, and contain of small sinuses of anterior cranial fossa and ophthalmic veins. Here blood travels to the cavernous sinus. It's paired and rests on the sides of the sella turcica. Sinus cavernosus are paired and connected by the intercavernous anastomodis sinus intercavernosus anterior and posterior. It has very big importance in transformation of pulmonary processes because it receives the blood from the optic nerves, optic veins, vena ophthalmicin, it is moved with the vena angularis and communicate with the deep pterygoid venous plexus, plexus pterygoidus profundus. Arteries of the dura mater. Blood supply of the dura mater is by arteria meningeal anterior, it's a branch of the arteria etoidalis anterior. Arteria meningeal anterior is a branch of the arteria etoidalis anterior. Arteria meningeal median from maxillaris, and arteria meningeal posterior, which is a branch of the pharyngeal ascendens artery. Of course, the dominant vessel which supplies the blood the dura mater encephaly is a meningeal artery, arteria meningeal media, which is a branch of the maxillary artery. Nerves of the dura mater are rami are branches over trigeminal nerve from the ophthalmic nerve. tentorium. From the maxillary nerve, ramus meningeus medius. And from the mandibular nerve, ramus meningeus spinosus, which travel together with arteria meningea media throughout foramen spinosum. Except this, to the dura mater encephaly pass branches of the vagus and hypoglossal nerves. My dear friends, this is all what I want to say to you. Thank you very much for attention, patience, and all questions which you have during this lecture, please write on the wall. I'll obligatory look on it, and obligatory, don't forget, together with the question, put your name and group number, because I must know to whom I must give the answer. Thank you very much. Goodbye.